Onegaishimasu.
Onegaishimasu.
Okay, so we'll just start a bit of loosening. Just work the vertical. Work the arms as well. That's the little bit. And if you like, fully leave the ground with the toes and let the weight settle. Okay, we'll just start with the head. So go top down, just go to the chest, chin to chest, and then stretch it out. Really stretching the front, the whole neck, all the way up. And again, down to the chin. And up, 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 all the way back. Just let Roland in. Yeah. And back to the center, and then over to the left. And to the center again, and then over to the right. And then just come to the front here, and then front to the right, a kind of diagonal. And then just very lightly in the front, kind of circling. Kind of half the circle in the front, keep it nice and light. And a little bit over the top, just kind of side to side. So the head nice and loose. And then this kind of just a little bit like a figure of 8 movement with the head, but nice and light. Let the whole body also move with it. You feel quite flexible. You can also work the head a little bit where the eyes look up at the ceiling. Good. And then we're just coming to the shoulders, so just raise them up. And then drop them down. You can also do this with tension, a little bit like Paul was saying, making fists coming up, holding a little bit with tension, and releasing it down. Just let everything drop out, and then coming up. And so one thing with tension is that it really pulls you out of the ground, so it's a bit like really uprooting yourself with tension, so this is also kind of nice. And then down, and then just coming to the back, just open the chest out. And up and then forward. And the chest out. And then rounding forward. Let the whole upper back also kind of curl with it. Sometimes they call it like a tortoise shell. You kind of really pull the body in. And then just work between the front and the back. Just kind of rounding, pulling the chest out. And so let the shoulders kind of be dragged with the body. Good. And then just start to work side to side with the chest. Just really kind of mobilizing this whole thoracic spine, this whole region. It gets pulled. But also we're kind of holding it one side as well, so if you feel you can get right to the maximum. This is actually best to do in bed. If you're lying down in bed, you can do this where you can really mobilize the chest. So it's actually quite a small movement, but really, really nice move to mobilize the spine. And then just start to sway through it. Sway through it. And then just work with circles. So you're going to include the front, back, left, right. And again, just let the arms kind of follow it. Work both ways. And you can work with circular movements, and then you can also work with kind of figure of eights. So you're kind of working a bit more the sides and the shoulders. So, good. You just start to include the shoulders really in it, so opening really out to the side as if someone's kind of pushing the shoulders back. So, good. That's it. And just imagine if someone's pushing you, they're doing it very lightly, very light. And you just want to basically redirect the movement down through the spine to the hips and then in between the 2 feet. Just feel that you can basically receive down into the ground. And then if you imagine the person's kind of pushing you, imagine they're doing it now in a little bit more pressure. So you're basically getting now a little bit dragged out in the body. And now feel that the base that I have isn't possible to really balance the body. So now you're going to feel that the body gets slightly pulled out of balance. And just take a few seconds, just feel that balance point, this kind of tipping point in the body where it feels like it's going to fall, but just kind of catch it. Just slightly hold it. Just feel the weight of the body. And then just make it a little bit looser. Just start to bring the body fully into movement. So you're now coming really in and out of balance in a way. One nice thing to do is also imagine if someone's pushing you, you can also imagine them pulling you as well from the arms. So imagine you can also be pulled out by the arms. These are really nice exercises to do with a partner. I usually start classes with them, especially if we're doing a lot of ukemi. So just imagine a little bit like someone's pulling you in different directions. Good. Oh yeah, there we go. Oh, yeah. Good. And just imagine they really pull you out now, just very lightly. Just start to kind of find the ground and then come back to the feet. So you're going to basically, this is a bit like when I do kind of handstands. It's really where you're placing the weight into the hands. So the weight's going to start to come over into the hands, and just a little bit, not too much. But just feel that you can basically, you lose the feet and then just come into the hands and then come down. This would be the point where we would take ukemi, but don't do it in the morning. It's not so great to do. So just feel you tip over, the hands catch, and then just come back onto the feet. And just feel this transition, this really nice transition in the weight when you go over from the feet into the hands and then back. Just kind of feel it very light. Play a little bit with the palms and also with the fingertips if you feel kind of comfortable with it. You can also, if you're comfortable, use the fist. So you've got these 3 things you can play with, which is the palm contact, 1 or 2 hands. You've got the fingertips just coming down, and you've also got the fists. Just play a little bit with these kind of 3, depending on your flooring. So play a little bit with it, just making contact with the ground. That's it. Just what you do. Good. Play to the front, the back, the sides, spiral a little bit. Just keep everything nice and loose. That's it. This was my one problem with the setai, is that they don't add pressure to the body. So they're nice, comfortable, free, and they move very, very kind of freely, but they don't include pressure into it. So Aikido is great because it includes pressure. So how my system deals with pressure, which is basically a loss of balance or a force coming through the body. So just imagine a little bit, you're getting kind of pulled in and out of balance, and you've got to kind of imagine, you can also imagine pressure coming through the body, kind of weight dropping through the body. Yeah, that's it. Good. Oh, very nice. Good. And we'll just play because we're doing the whole body. Something we hardly ever do, rarely do in Aikido is kicking, and we very rarely also take the legs from the person. So most of the techniques you do, if you think about it, are using the arms as levers, and we don't really use the legs. There's a few variations in otherwise where we're actually taking the legs out, but we don't ever really, in Aikido, we don't usually experience the idea of the legs being taken away from us, which is actually a really, if it happens to you, it's really shocking. So the body will go into freeze mode if you're not used to someone really taking the legs out and sweeping them. Now, if you've done judo as a kid or kickboxing, I used to do kickboxing, so I'm kind of used to the idea of coming onto one leg and balancing the body. So just play a little bit now with basically one leg coming out of the ground. So just play firstly, just to kind of feel the body, and also this is just kind of a warm up. Just feel the weight drain into one leg, and just play with the leg. You basically got, if you think about the degrees out from the body, you've got kind of 7. So you've got the front, you've got the back, you've got this side, and then you've got the diagonals this way. So you've got a kind of, if you imagine a kind of compass point to start with, just play with, just for balancing the body, and just feel what it's like when the weight of the leg gets swung out. It's also a nice kind of a way to exercise the hip, or just to loosen the hip. But just play with, especially these movements where you're coming through this way. We actually do this when we do ukemi. When we teach ukemi to people in the beginning, we teach them to do this. We teach them to do that. And it's actually that moment where the legs actually get taken away from you. So this is actually it's included in the practice, but it's a bit hidden. So that kind of movement out to the sides, just feel. And the leg's really heavy as well. So if you imagine that the leg gets cut off, there's also stories from, this is a bit gruesome, but stories from World War II and World War I, people, they would find the legs get cut off, and the people would try and pick the legs up to help the person, and they would realize how they would actually, one point there was a story, and he actually pulled all his back and nearly broke his back because he picked this leg up and it was super heavy. He didn't expect it to be heavy. So just feel the weight of the leg, pretty heavy. There we go. And just also play with the knee a little bit, just kind of loosen everything off. Good. And work both sides. Play a little bit also with the leg being raised up, pulled out, pulled to the back. Just kind of play a little bit with it. Yeah. Also, you can do these with a wall as well. So if you've got a wall, you can also play a little bit with them. These kind of ballerina exercise. But just play a little bit with it. Yeah. That's it. Good. Okay, so that's kind of in balance. What I want to do now is just play with the weight in the leg as you go. Just play with coming down towards the ground. So just a little bit, the front knee's going to bend. And again, if you like, just play with the hands as a kind of support, but just again, feel these different directions you've got to the front, to the back, out to the sides and the diagonals. Just play a little bit with it. And just see, do it quite loose and don't do it too stressful, but it should feel a little bit strange. Right, there we go. Good. Just watch a little bit. Good. This is a really great balancing exercise as well, so very good for the body. Nice. Good. Yeah. Okay. You're probably going to find now. You might find if I kind of glue the foot down and do these kind of moves, you might feel that the knee starts to kind of tense up and screw. So feel that you can also mobilize this leg as well, which basically means I'm going to come into the ball of the foot. So I'm going to come into the ball, and also it allows it to. If you think about the ball of the foot's really designed for mobility. So think about
You can also mobilize through the foot. So basically, in terms of ukemi work, I've lost the ground totally. So in a way, you are later being pulled totally out. Just play a little bit with it. Just the hands get pulled out. Good. And now if you go back to your imaginary partner, they can push you, they can pull the arms out, but they can also pull the legs out. So they can take the legs out from underneath you. So they take your feet away. How do you say it? What's this phrase? Take your feet, you swept my feet away. They can sweep your feet this way. So you can basically sweat. So just imagine you get kind of pulled out, and just feel the body a little bit. First start by resting, you get pulled out and you step with it. So just kind of receive it by mobilizing the hips this way. You can also get swept out to the back, but just mobilize the hips and receive that. Bit of a strength exercise. It looks very stupid, but sometimes these stupid exercises are really great. That's it. Good. And then just play a little bit more extreme with it, so kind of getting pulled out and then rolling down into it. Also include these kind of movements where you're getting drawn out this way. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Using the hands, coming down into the ground. Very nice. You can activate the whole body now. Good. Good. So, and there's actually a big problem with this, because if you think about someone sweeping your feet, I'm also going to try and sweep both. So I can do in a way where I'm going to sweep one leg out to draw you out. But I would actually, mostly in Aikido, when you get to these movements, the classic for this is actually we don't ever really train it. If you think about Kokinage, so if you come to here and you do this movement this way, what I'm doing, most people focus on the arms, that it's a kind of crescent, a kind of arc up the body. But what I'm doing with the hips is really taking the person out. So I'm actually in a way, I'm going to slide behind the back and take the whole body out. So in a way, what I'm doing is getting right up, really underneath the person, uprooting them from both feet, and then coming through with the technique. So if this technique happens to you and you're not used to the feet being taken out, this is really a shock. So that the body will go into total into freeze mode, and then the technique will work perfectly because the person's just kind of stuck in the feet. So and actually all the techniques have this quality. So if you look at Ikkyo, this also has a quality where I get drawn out from the feet like this, and then the body will either go into shock and stiffness, or it will the person's used to it and they'll recede into the ground. So depending on how they react to it, the technique is more effective or not. But just imagine now, you can't imagine this because it's actually difficult, but imagine that the whole balance gets drawn out from the feet. So you're actually getting pulled out forward. So just imagine, this is very difficult to do, but just imagine the front is easier to do. Or think about an Ikkyo. So the balance gets fully pulled forward and just kind of spiral into the ground a little bit. And you can also, if you're feeling quite loose, feel that the whole body gets drawn out to the back. So the whole spine is going to basically spiral through, and then just kind of follow it. Now we generally take this into forward rolls, backward rolls, but just for now, just kind of use the contact with the ground. So just feel the whole body gets uprooted. We're so used to in Aikido being grounded through the feet, and it's one of the good things that we do. But there are moments where you actually totally lose the balance, totally lose the ground, and this is where Ukemi comes in. This is the kind of skill of Ukemi. This is how to regain the balance. That's it. So just imagine the whole balance gets drawn out. Just play a little bit with it. That's it. Good. 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 So, So if you look at a lot of ukemi in Aikido, you will, and if you go on YouTube, you can watch the really dynamic ones where they're kind of doing big high falls, very athletic. If you pause the video just before the throw, you will see the person ground themselves before they take the high fall. So they'll ground into one foot and then they will basically throw themselves through the fall. Now this is great, it's really athletic and it's really nice to watch. It's really beautiful, but it's not actually practical because if you think about someone actually doing the throw to you, they're going to uproot you totally from the body. And then I don't have a choice about ukemi. So for me, ukemi is not about choice and me doing it, making the fall. It's about how I react to other pressure. So in a way, this is kind of very difficult to kind of emphasize or to practice. But just have the sense that someone's now really gonna uproot you totally from the body. And just feel now what that's like, where you're basically getting pulled totally out of the body. So it's like this. It's almost like the body gets pulled away from itself. So the whole structure is gonna get pulled out this way. You just play a little bit with it. And again, it's just a kind of exercise. And basically find this motion. The easiest one again is Ikkyo. So find the motion where the body gets pulled out. And then see if we can basically receive it in the body into a spiral. And because we're pretty free now, I'm not going to go into forward rolls, just play a little bit with, kind of spiraling through it. And this kind of practice later where I can spiral through the falls and redirect it is key to really take ukemi in a kind of practical way, where the body doesn't resist, just redirects. It's also a nice practice for the whole body. Yeah. That's very good. Good. Yeah, good. Okay, good. Yeah, something I didn't show. Very good. Someone just reminded me. You also, if you think in terms of Aikido, where the legs very rarely get thrown out, but the arms get taken all the time. Now, the goal of all the joint techniques is to lock the joint up, almost all of them. So if you think about Ikkyo, it's to really lock the joint through a movement, through an arc. Nikkyo especially, it's really to kind of lock the joint. Shihonage is a perfect example. Shihonage and Kotegaishi. So just imagine now a little bit, the joint gets locked up. So the joint gets locked up. And then what I want to do in this case is explore a different feeling. So there's a feeling of uprooting the person. It's usually like in Chinese arts, if you look at Tai Chi, most of the movements are kind of uprooting movements. In Aikido, we also do these kind of immobilizations where you're basically crushing through the structure. So you're going directly into the center and crushing it through the feet, or dropping it into the feet is probably a better word. But just imagine now, so you get into these locked positions, and then imagine the whole structure gets pressed down through the body, and then just release it towards the ground. So again, you can't take ukemi, or you can if you're kind of brave. But just imagine the joint gets locked out. Imagine really find the point where the joint goes into that kind of position and it feels quite uncomfortable. And then imagine you can release into it. And kind of that's it. So ukemi for me is also about finding the freedom in the restriction of the technique. So it's looking for the space when I can move, which usually means moving into it, going the other way. So it's the way we don't want to go. If you think about Nikkyo as a classic example, because if I pull away from it, I make it worse. And if I go into it, I actually have a chance to receive it. So just play a little bit with this idea, which is slightly different, which is kind of the structure being compressed down into the ground. Yeah, that's it. Which has got a really different kind of quality. It's like crushing an empty can of Coke. It's kind of also quite difficult to do on your own, but it's a kind of nice practice. You can do that. Yeah, so if you string a little bit, if you think about these exercises we do in the wrist, I'm just going to basically open these out. So you've got these kind of Nikyo positions like this, where you do it on yourself. And you've also got Sankyo positions, do it on yourself. And you've got Shihonage positions, Kotegaishi also. Just imagine with one hand, you basically do the technique on yourself, but really take it. Find the point when it really kind of comes off. You also use this as a kind of stretch as well for the wrist. Stretch through it and just basically see if you can lock the joint up into the center, which is a kind of a strange thing to do to yourself. And then just imagine the pressure comes on and I receive it just a little bit. So use it as a kind of stretch for the wrist. Everything goes into kind of tension through the joint. And then basically look for the space where I'm actually free. I'm basically going into it more and curling through it. So just play a little bit with that. Yeah, looks totally strange on the screen. Yeah, good. It's a bit like that scene in Fight Club where he's at the end. Good. Yeah, good. Good. Right. Okay, just loosen the wrist out at the top. And roll them at the bottom. Shake the feet. Shake and roll. Yes. And you just come to the whole body. Center the movement. Find the heels. Press into the ground a little bit. And just let the weight start to fall down each time. Okay. Great. Good. Okay, take a bokken. We'll continue with some bokken work. Okay, good. So we'll just start again with these kind of shoulder width apart, just working with a nice dynamic swing. Just let it drop. You actually got the same kind of idea, so the body's kind of coming down, right into the ground, receiving the body. But now you're really working with another idea, which is connecting into something else, something not you. So it's in a way really trying to work now the connection between you and the sword. That's nice. Nice. Okay, good. So one of the key things in terms of connecting to the weapon is how I grip with the hand. So just really focusing. In this case, it's quite easy to do. In this case, because we're kind of releasing, it's quite easy to release the sword as well from the grip. So in a way, the sword is doing this, and in a way, that's actually it's a kind of false thing because if I just drop the sword, it will do palm straight into the ground like this, and it won't kind of jump out of the ground this way. So that's actually a symptom of me doing something as well. So in a way, just see if you can basically connect into the sword there, and it just feels kind of safe in the grip, but it doesn't feel like it's going to do that and kind of jump out of the grip. So just play a little bit with this connection here, and then drop it down. But try and feel it from the back of the body, the lower back, all the way into the shoulders through the grip. Really feels like one connection. There. A little bit with it. You feel totally safe in the hands. There. That's it. Good. Nice. Great. Good. In the other side of the connection part is actually knowing when to release, when to let go. So in a way, you're not going to let go of the sword, but you're going to really loosen. So that's the main point is here. I'm really going to loosen the grip on the sword. So there's almost nothing holding the sword. It's as if it's going to kind of fall. My feeling here is as if the sword's going to go through the back this way. So I really feel, again, it doesn't feel like connection work because it feels like I'm releasing. It feels like I'm letting go of everything. It feels like the sword's going to kind of fly back. But I have a sense in this case like I'm kind of really connecting the sword into the spine, into the back. And that means the connection with the hands is actually very light. And that also means because I release the connection in their hands or in the palms, that the shoulders can really release through the movement. And that's the key part of this move as you find the back, that I can really find a release through the shoulders. And just feel the difference now between if I keep the grip, find the back, and just feel that just all comes into tension, and then release it back. Just find basically a point where it's kind of effortless, just to the back, and then release it. Should be actually no strain on the body. There's tension, release. Going. Good. Yeah, very nice. Interesting. Okay, just listen for this when you do the cut. So as you do this, as I go from this kind of release state into the cut, some of you are doing this. I've not really seen this before, so I haven't noticed it. Just some of you are doing this first and then dropping. So in a way, the elbows are kind of squeezing together and then dropping down. Just imagine, you've got one arc with the elbow, so you come up and then it just drops through. But it doesn't kind of do a kind of, it's this kind of preload where it's basically run and then run. But just feel, in this case, you get to the back and then the elbow just drops through. The elbow just drops down. So the elbow's arcing out in a way, but it doesn't kind of crunch in first and then do it. Just see if you can feel this arc, which is basically a really clean downwards arc through the elbows. Interesting. That's it. Okay, good. That's it. Feel that the elbow's connected directly to the hip. So as soon as the hip starts to engage down, the elbow's going to start to be kind of drawn down. Yeah. Nice. Great. Good. You just play these two with these. We're going to play with three angles. Just play now with a kind of movement out. So it's basically like a ski. Just feel the first thing. Just feel, because we can't find the back in this case. Use the ground to basically ground the movement down, and then just feel that you can spring out from the ground. So really kind of connect in this position. Really feel that you find the back into the feet, connecting through, and then that way. So the key thing with all the movements as well, this is true, but it's even most really true for the ski, is that it's not a movement of the arms pulling the body out. It's a movement from the feet through the hip to the hands. So just feel you can now really feel this connection. Center the body, find the back, and then just comes out of the ground. That's it. Working away with the kind of left side and the right side if you can. Imagine. Good. Okay, good. Good. So this always looks like a linear move. So it looks like that. It looks like it's a kind of linear move. Really find that this is also a spiral down through the body. So really feel that the actual movement in a way is this. So the real movement is a kind of coiling spiral with the body. It's not actually, if you think about the ski, it's not really a push forward. it's really it's a kind of spiral down and out. So just think about more down and more out, but less forward. So don't think in terms of advancing forward with the ski. Think in terms of in a way expanding the sword out in a way. Imagine a kind of balloon gets kind of expanded out. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Good. Yeah, and just try this. This just makes it really clear. So just put the hands on the center and feel the difference between pressing the hands forward this way and feel the difference between the center basically expands the hands away from them. This is actually super clear, very, very, very easy way to kind of feel the difference. Just feel the difference between the hands get that, or that. So the real kind of difference in the movement is what's happening in the ground through the hips. So either the hands pull away or feet, hips, hands. It's that kind of quality. Just to really get a feel for it. Yeah, that's it. Good. And then just do that a few times and then just come back to the sword. And again, just feel the difference between the arms pull out and now working from this position, just connecting the center. Feel the center connects, the feet, hips, hands, sword, boom. That's it. Good. Nice, that's nice. Very good. Good. Okay. Good. And we'll just do one more direction, which is basically this horizontal. So you're just going to slice across. Just keep it, start with it nice and loose, just with the feet shoulder width apart. And just feel the body kind of sway toward the sword with it. Toward the sword with it. Yeah. Feel the hands in this transition, which is very nice from the side transition. Transition. And this is really done with the hip. Just again, feel this kind of connection. Feet, hips, hands. Hip, hands, sword. So the connection should feel very kind of thick. Should feel very, yeah, in a way it's kind of heavy. The connection's very deep. But for me also the ukemi work's very interesting because it's about this feeling of being uncomfortable and how I can regain the center again. So it also ukemi can be in a way kind of dangerous because I get used to being out of balance and I start to enjoy it. And it is kind of enjoyable. But if you think the key thing of ukemi is actually the standing up. So the Japanese say this kind of 7 times down, 8 times standing, or something like this. But basically the emphasis is on the standing back up. So the falling's interested in the loss of balance is kind of fun, but the idea with it is really this idea of regaining the balance. So it gives you a taste for, if you think about it, really being out of balance and how to rebalance the body. So think about in terms of this, whether I get pulled out or whether I just rebalance everything. I'm trying to really accommodate the sword in a way that it can do this, but I'm not going to throw the balance out to do it. So just think about very light movements. And again, just really all the time now, think about the body in balance. So you're going to start in balance and all the way through, keep it, keep it, keep it. This is always done best slowly. That's it. That's it. And when you feel you've got the kind of balance, just start to slightly make it a little bit more flexible, which is basically the work of the center. So it's not about the hands, it's about, again, the center. So just start to really mobilize the center. That's it. Yeah, good. Good. Nice. Good. Serena. Bye-bye. Good. Okay, so we'll kind of build up, just work with the first Suburi, and then we'll kind of introduce each element. So we'll start just with this vertical. Just come up into the first Suburi, roll back, and then cutting through. And you can do it as lightly as you like with the focus, or you can do it as fully as you like. Just look for the ground through the whole movement. Good. Okay, so we're going to do this workshop in a few weeks or so. This is the main point. The start of this is really trying to center the body and really find the center, and then try and kind of initiate everything from the center. But how you actually get there with their training is not starting from the center. You actually start with the hands and the feet. So in Japan, they just kept saying about hands and feet together. And I asked them about the center, and they said, kind of forget it. Don't think about the center. Just go hands and feet. So at the moment, this is actually a really good training. What Lewis was saying on Sunday about the kind of impacting through the feet. So if you think about this kind of movement down, you will also get a reaction naturally, just also in the feet. So just play a little bit with this here. This is actually, I was playing with this a little bit with Adrian yesterday. Just play with the feet basically in a quite a tight, small base. And then just feel that the weight's going to settle down also into the feet. Just play a little bit with a very narrow base. And this basically forces me to ground through the feet. Because if I don't ground through the feet, the body gets totally drawn out. So just use a kind of narrow base. Just feel the weight's going to just drain down. The disadvantage of a narrow base is you're more at risk of losing your balance, but that's also the advantage in the training. Yeah. And just the first thing is just listen to the feet. Just feel what happens. Yeah. Just boom, there. Boom, there. Boom. And also focus a little bit on as you release the sword. This is also done with the feet. So feel that you enter the feet fully. And you release through the body and then come back out. So in a way, it's this kind of wave through the body. Very light. That's it. That's it. That's it. Good. Good. Let's play a little bit with that. Great. Great. Nice. Good. And then just coming back into the first Suburi and just really feel now the feet, hands. So as you create the kind of focus in the hands, feel that there's an equal thing, boom, hitting the ground through the feet. So something's going to drop, boom, through the feet. That's basically the center acting through the feet, but just for now, focus on the hands and the feet. Forget the center, just focus on the feeling between the hands and the feet. And basically the Japanese will say the center takes care of itself. If you focus on the hands and the feet, that's the hope. That center just falls into place. That's it. Great. So, and we'll come into the ski work, so we'll make it real simple. We did 7 yesterday, we'll go look at 6. So you're gonna come back, find the cut, and then find the feet, find the thrust. Wait, that was really bad. So I'm gonna do it again. Goes right, and you go right. Oh, better, a little bit better. So we're going to go number 6, just working the right side. Grounded. Number 6. Again, just experiment a little bit with a small base, so very, very small, tiny base. Just imagine now again that the feeling this weight sinks down. So everything sinks down into the feet. Now, a lot of us, because we start the movement in the hands, what ends up happening, it's a bit like someone's on the other end of the bokken, pulling you out of the base. So if you imagine, in a sense, if I start with the arms, this happens. So it's like someone's dragging me out of my base. And I want actually the opposite thing to happen. So I want the movement to actually fall down. So it's got that kind of, the quality in this case, we actually come into this position quite a lot sometimes, so especially in the kumitachi, that the feeling's like the weight of the body sits down. So if you imagine a little stool behind you, you basically sit down onto it. So the body drops down with the movement. So it's really clear in this case with the small base, you've got down and out, but never just forward. Rebalance, out. So think more out expansion than forward. That's it. The body just sits down. And it's super clear when you've got a very narrow base. Yeah, good. That's it. Oh, very nice. Good. Yeah, and once you feel connected into it, just come back into this kind of pattern. There's a very short variation on number 6. Finding Shomanuchi, and then finding the threads. The ski. Hey. Ah, nice. Yeah, I'm going to try to see if you can see, just watch my back. Just watch this. So you basically, the beauty of the Shomanuchi work, hopefully you can hear, the beauty of the Shomanuchi work is I really connect into the hip work here. Now, if I start in the arms, what happens is the shoulders engage, and it's like the shoulders pull the spine out from the ground. So again, it's really uprooting the body. So just feel that as you initiate this move, or you find this move, the hips sink down. And then in this position, I basically use that connection through the hip, and I translate it into a horizontal movement. So really feel that the hips ground. You've got this kind of position. This is like when we do these empty-handed work. You've got this kind of henko position. The hips are really engaged, grounded, and then I use that connection, press it forward. But try and avoid this, and then this. This is where you get this kind of movement where you get destabilized. So you get uprooted. So just feel the hips ground, and then convert that grounded sense down, out. This way. But keep all the time the sense that feet are like suckers in the ground. And especially the hips are going to all the time have this feeling of sinking. That's it. So every horizontal movement is always based on it in a downwards compression. and then we'll look at the slicing movement. So you're going to come from this position. We're going to do a different one. So we did yesterday this one to the right side, and I normally do this one all the way fully to the right side. In this case, we'll do. I've got a flow. So this time I'm going to do a left side. So you're going to step from the back leg, step out this way. So you're probably used to doing this move in if you do the kumitachi. Think about slicing out, but in this case, just focus on slicing out with the body this way. So the footwork, in this case, right side forward, you do the left side. Think about a diagonal to the front left. Comes out, that way. That way. Wait, don't sit on the floor. That way, and then draw the whole body through it. That way. Yeah. Just let the body be dragged for now. Just focusing on that initial step. Nice.
Michael?
Yep.
There is no pre-opening in this movement, eh?
No, in this, yeah, I think this is super. This is really direct.
Direct movement forward.
Think about the person's giving me in the case where we would use it in the kumitachi, the person's raising and giving me this opening side. Basically, I take it straight away.
Yeah.
I think in this case, I think of the foot, the front foot really connecting to the tip. So I think about that kind of in a way, it's like a direct connection from the foot right to the tip of the sword. So I'm kind of connecting that in, and then it gets kind of shot forward, like a kind of arrow. It gets kind of pulled forward in a way. Super direct. Very, very, very direct. And very fast. Super efficient. Yeah, exactly. Just like that.
I have a tendency to withdraw first.
Yeah.
To open up this part a bit and then move in.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's a bit like a kind of one of these optical illusions as well, because at the body's opening out, it looks like the sword's being pulled back by the. If the person's doing it well, then you'll see that the sword kind of opens out through the room, and then that gives the kind of elasticity that I can create it. But it looks like the person does this and then does it. But if you look at it, just try and minimize, or just try and think about maximizing the connection between the foot and the tip, so that it's just kind of directs that straight in. If I practice this, I'll do something like this. I kind of wobble through the connection a little bit. It's that, and then comes onto it that way. So just play a little bit with that kind of connection. And it's about, well, it's all connection work, but this case particularly. Nice, nice, nice. Good. Where do we go? Oh. Okay. Good. Okay, so I've got a set you can do. You can actually repeat this once, but I'll show it just one at a time. You go here, shomenuchi, ski, and then from here you take the left leg out, come to here, and then drag the whole foot through, and you're going to come to this position that we use in the kumitachi, and then you continue it straight down on the left side this way. A few times. On the right side, find the back, shomenuchi. And then left side out, strike through, up to the top of the head, and then left side, striking down. And just come back to the right side. Just here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and Nice, nice. Okay. Okay, there's one usually a big problem with this in terms of the head work, so I'll just show it. We'll probably work on this a bit more tomorrow and a bit. Just watch for this. If in this case I basically keep my focus like this forward, watch what happens with the body. Or I'll do the full set, sorry. You guys see it around? So if I keep all my focus this way, you see what happens to the body as I do it. The body goes in this third position, it goes like this, basically twists through the movement. So in this case, don't necessarily focus on something, forward in front of you. Actually allow the head to follow the spine. So in general, just let the head kind of track with the spine. This. And then I actually allow the body to find this position rather than this kind of position where I'm basically get kind of drawn forward. In the case when you do this fast, it's actually not a problem because the person's in front and I do that. So the body, I never really go into that full rotation. But for the basic, just to really train the movement, nice and this, and then really allow the whole head follow the spine. Right. So I find this kind of position here, literally like sitting through, and then, and in a way I don't really need to watch the person through the movement. But the key thing, especially with solo work, because we don't have a partner, is let the head follow the spine. That's it. Yeah. Much better. Yeah. Great. Very nice. Very nice. Okay, and what you can do is actually combine this into a flowing sequence and just continue with it. So the last 20, 30 seconds or so, just come into this position. You come here 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would be the end of the set. And then from here, just rotate to the back like a Zengo giri. Cut on the right side, and then you continue. 1, to the back. 1, so you just basically keep going, find a new direction. 1, especially now focusing on the shoulders. There's a big tendency now through this sequence that the shoulders start to get pulled out. So think all the time back and down, back and down. 8. Whoosh. And the last few, just do very slow, as slowly as you can. Painfully slow. 1. It's actually funny, the slower you go, the more the body will want to start to go into flow. So, last one, nice and slow. Great. So we'll stop Good. That's a nice set. There's uses of some of the movements from the Kumitachi as well. And the Kumitachi rituals, they include these slicing movements that we don't practice in the Suburi, so trying to kind of unlock some of these moves for this. Okay, so. はい、どうもありがとうございました。
どうもありがとうございました。
You're very welcome.